After weeks of consolidation, Bitcoin has finally broken back above 100,000. Will this rally sustain? How is the altcoin market cap looking? And what are the key levels you should be paying attention to? Let's dive on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Bitcoin is currently seeing an explosive rally past 100,000. In today's video, we are going to be discussing exactly what is happening, our key targets and levels you should be paying attention to, the implication this rally has had on the altcoin market, and everything else you need to know about what is happening and more. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. This is the first link down below. You will get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you were interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us on the VIP channel by clicking the pinned comment of the free channel, clicking my name, or these two links for more information. You'll get access to our main VIP channel where we post trading setups with exact entries, targets, stop losses, trade justification, and so much more, including access to our group chats, our general chat, our trading chart and education chat, our daily video, our help, and our news chat. We have over 700 members and have been doing this for over 50 months. Check it out. Again, join up and we'll see you in there. Let's take a look at the price action, guys. And Bitcoin has seen a fantastic move upwards, well past $100,000 now in the short term over the past 24 hours as a consequence of CPI data coming in a little better than forecasted. We saw a massive pump on that CPI data release, and that rally has been continuing now over the past 4 or 5 hours. With this rally toward the upside, we have also seen altcoins perform phenomenally, with the total market cap and total 3 market cap as well rallying toward the upside. This is something we're going to be taking a deep look at in today's video, discussing next potential targets, exactly why this is happening, and what you should be watching out for. We're also going to be taking a look at the short-term price action, trying to justify and explain the key levels you should be paying attention to and what is happening here with this massive amount of volatility we are witnessing in the charts. Let's start on that market data. Looking at the market data, 24-hour liquidations and volume, taking a look at that volume, up 25.92%, sitting at 256 billion, with 24-hour liquidations up 80% at 333 million. Over the 333 million in liquidations, 107 million have come from longs, with 226 million coming from short positions, as expected when the market rallies aggressively. Moving over to the DXY has dropped down just a little bit. That was expected, as we did see the economic news surrounding inflation actually come out a little better, particularly that core inflation rate month on month, dropping down to 0.2%, a little bit lower than the forecasted and previous 0.3%. And that is really attributed a little bit of a correction for the DXY. Again, when we do see inflation dropping, the narrative developing around what the Federal Reserve is pushing into, which is inflation is a problem, they're leaning heavy into inflation, and because inflation is still not where they want it to be, they are being more tight when it comes to potential interest rate reductions. Now that we see the inflation come down a little bit, maybe they shift or they move their narrative moving into the next interest rate release, and that is why we have seen the market rally, right? That optimism that we have seen now as a consequence of inflation not being as aggressive as expected leads us to a potential where we could see more than 2 interest rate reductions in 2025, which has caused this massive amount of optimism to spur in the market and the prices to rally. Looking at the S&P 500, exact same thing as we just mentioned there, with the dollar decreasing, asset prices are going to rise. We have seen the S&P 500 push back up close to $6,000. Now, for the S&P 500 to really continue toward the upside, we are still watching very closely for a break of these prior high points. We break these prior highs, then we are looking for direct and strong continuations toward the upside. So pay very close attention to that. Let's go ahead and jump over to the rest of our analysis. Now, we have so much to be taking a look at today, like we mentioned in the intro, but before we get into it, if you are interested in 15 to 45% of all your trading fees for life, go ahead and sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX with the links down below. Again, you'll support me making the content, you'll support yourself in your trading journey, and you'll get a nice discount on top of it. Again, 15 to 45% discount on your trading fees for life using the links down below. We'll see you back in a second. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other 2 exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay, legends, let's go ahead and jump into it. And we are taking a look at the total market cap to start off with. Now, we've been discussing the total market cap for quite some time now, as it is really one of the best indications of cryptocurrency as a whole. Is the market bullish? Is the market bearish? Is the market in an uptrend? Are we above support? All these bigger questions we can look at the total market cap to get a general guide and a general answer to. Overall, the total market cap is following a major pattern that we saw play out in the 2021 cycle. And that pattern is as follows: a breakout of the prior all-time high, resulting in a strong double-digit rally toward the upside, only then for us to see a strong correction to come back down and get very close to retesting the prior all-time high, and then a continuation back upwards. If we look at that prior cycle, that 2021 cycle, we saw a massive breakout of 50% on the total market cap following the break of the 2018 high, and then after that we saw a drawdown of around 30%, only then to see a continuation over the coming months of over 200%. If we are looking at the current cycle, a very similar pattern is playing out. We saw a breakout of that prior 21 high, resulting in a 25% rally. Then we saw a correction of around 20%, resulting in a move back to almost retest that 2021 high, and we are looking like we are continuing upwards now on that weekly chart. So all in all, it does appear we are still following that 2021 cycle in terms of structural levels. Now, the structural level we are watching very closely is of course going to be the horizontal level developed from the prior all-time high. In this instance, that is 3.05 trillion. A loss of 3.05 trillion will confirm 2 things. Number 1, it will confirm the pattern of which we believe the total market cap is following, that we saw in 2021 will be ending. And number 2, a breakdown of 3.05 trillion will mark this move as deviation, which could result in an extended high time frame correction. That means while we remain above 0.35 trillion on the total market cap, the macro expectations for cryptocurrency is bullish. We've been saying that for a while. While we remain above 3.05 trillion, which is the 2021 high, the macro expectations for cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, altcoins is bullish. If we drop below this region, we do run the risk of macro corrections or entering a higher time frame downtrend. Pay attention to that. Let's move over to the altcoin market. Now, the altcoin market, in my opinion, is still in the altcoin season. We saw the altcoin season start around the 14th of November. The reason I said the altcoin season started back then, when it was the 14th of November, I did a video telling you the altcoin season has started, was because we saw 3 of 3 validations we saw in the prior cycle. That were, number 1, a horizontal break of the yearly resistance of the altcoin market cap. Number 2, Bitcoin dominance creating a top and beginning to correct toward the downside. And number 3, as those two things were occurring, Bitcoin created a local top. Forward wind to this cycle, we had seen all 3 of those validation points occur at the exact same time of which the altcoin market broke through the yearly resistance. If we look at the prior cycle, that was an identical replication of what occurred from a structural perspective and from a technical perspective in terms of Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin creating local tops. Therefore, an altcoin season has started. In terms of the altcoin season, I do believe altcoins will continue to do well on the macro. Now, they are always going to be quite volatile. There are always going to be big swings. Altcoins historically drop 30, 40, 50% even during altcoin seasons. But on the macro, provided the total market cap remains above 3.05 trillion and the altcoin market cap remains above that altcoin season trigger, which is sitting at 840 billion, the potential for macro continuations upwards for altcoins are still on the table. Now, as I mentioned in our prior videos, if the Federal Reserve decide that they are going to lean heavy into bringing inflation down and keeping inflation under control, and they stay very hard and true on that directory, on that course, it is highly likely that interest rates will not reduce enough for us to see assets to continue upwards. And remember, okay, the market is future seeing. It moves based on perceived systematic risk. If the Federal Reserve is out here saying we're not going to be dropping interest rates much in 2025, the perception of that is going to be bearish in the markets, and the markets are going to correct to try price that in. Now, if the Federal Reserve come out and say, you know what, everything's under control, everything's moving as expected, we are probably going to drop interest rates more than twice in 2025, the market will rally very aggressively. So the macro outlook for these asset markets are heavily correlated to monetary policy, because policy stipulates demand. And of course, when we see bullish policy, even if it hasn't been implemented, just needs to be expected, the market will rally in anticipation of that. So at the moment, all is well. I am a little bit concerned about the Federal Reserve leaning heavier into bringing inflation down, that being contradictory to dropping interest rates. Dropping interest rates results in inflation rising, not going down, so it's slightly contradictory. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that develops. But from a structural and a technical perspective, from a structural perspective being our horizontals, from a technical perspective being what we saw from a pattern perspective from the last cycles, it is all looking pretty well. Let's move over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has done a few major things, as we have been discussing just in this video already. We've seen a breakout of a very important downtrending diagonal resistance. This downtrending diagonal resistance being the rejection point from our 108,000 high and our 102.5 thousand high. We've actually broken above that region as we speak. Now, we do have some critical support levels we'll be discussing in just a second. As you can see, these horizontal levels represented by the gray boxes are very important supports, but we do want to go over one major thing. For Bitcoin to remain bullish, and for the total market cap to remain above 3.05 trillion, and for the altcoin market to remain above 840 billion, Bitcoin needs to stay above 86,000. Now, I do think it's highly likely we remain above 86,000, but if we do at some point drop below 86,000, that in my eyes will be the macro bearish trigger for Bitcoin. I see no reason to be high time frame bullish for Bitcoin if we drop below that region. There is another reason I say that. If we go over to the weekly chart, if we look at the RSI, we have a very important level on the RSI, which lines up with the 62.09 point on the RSI. Now, historically, when we drop below the 62.09 point on the RSI, we see macro high time frame reversals in the trend. I did a video on that the other day. We see anywhere between 15 to 70% corrections for Bitcoin every single time we drop below that level. Now, that level will line up with the $86,000 region, and therefore a loss of 86,000 will very likely likely not only send Bitcoin into a high time frame downtrend, but invalidate the total market cap fractal and invalidate the altcoin season. So we need to remain above here. Now, if we take a look at the current levels, Bitcoin has done something very, very amazing. And that is we have broken this downtrend. Not only have we broken this downtrend, we are now sitting above the $100,000 region. Now, the $100,000 region is going to be a critical area of support in which we will need to flip to continue higher. If we are talking about moves into new all-time highs, if we're talking about moves to 110, we're talking about moves to 120,000, we need to see Bitcoin break above 102.5K. This is our prior lower high. We have a high, okay, we have a lower high. For us to see a continuation upwards, we need to break that region. Meaning, if we want to see continuations to price discovery or to the prior all-time high at 108, we need to break above 102.5K. That is, we can't argue that, we can't contest that, that needs to happen. So until that occurs, we do run the risk of seeing short-term pullbacks for Bitcoin, but it is important to note any sort of short-term pullback that does occur, whatever occurs over here, while we are sitting above 86, we're going to be macro bullish for Bitcoin. So let's take a look at our levels. At the moment, we are retesting. We're coming down to retest that $100,000 region. Ideally, Bitcoin is able to flip this $100,000 to $99,000 region as support. If we look at the prior price action, we broke above that region, but we did not retest or flip this area of support. In fact, we just saw a straight correction. Ideally, Bitcoin is now going to be able to hold above 99 to 100,000, develop this as a new base of support before we continue toward the upside. If we do drop below 99,000, I'd be watching the POC level of support again, and if we lose the POC level, well, then we're going to see steeper corrections back to that 92.5K region. If we zoom into the short-term price action very briefly, let's go ahead and bring up a hourly chart. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring up like a 15-minute chart and go real short-term time frame. We can see already this move upwards is beginning to show some signs of exhaustion. Of course, we do have a triple bearish divergence over here with that RSI continuing downwards and the price action continuing upwards. This is not the best thing to be seeing as we are approaching major breakout points. So we would like to see that $100,000 region, which we're coming down to retest, test and hold as support and bounce and then absorb this exhaustion. If we do drop below 100,000, we could see a continuation back to that 50 EMA at around 99K, which is going to be the range low of this higher time frame support we just discussed. So on the short-term price action, guys, I would not be aping into positions. I'd be watching it cautiously. Now, remember, if you haven't already got into positions, you're probably a bit late. If you look at our VIP channel, for example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, well, 8, what we're looking at here, 9 different longs, maybe even 10 different longs going at the same time right now on altcoins that we got well before it's ready toward the upside. We are not opening new positions right now. We are watching to see how the price now reacts at this critical area of support. We are watching to see how the demand is sitting at these highs. We've seen a massive rally, a massive liquidation on shorts. We have to see how the demand comes in and if we are able to sustain these prices. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day. Catch you in tomorrow's video. See you then.